Today's show is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. You know, America's top-rated sports booking app. Deke, not only is it safe, but it is secure, and you better believe it is reliable. And for all the first-time users out there, because everybody was a first at one point in their life, if you use the promo code MOATS, you'll receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. It's an awesome concept. You definitely want to check that out. But more importantly, make sure you use that promo code. And Deke, you know, every once in a while,
people go overboard, huh?
They don't have self-control.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Deke, when people start to lose that self-control, man, something happens.
What's that?
You got to talk to them a little bit. You got to tell them, if you know somebody who has a gambling problem, you better call 1-800-GAMBLER. I say, if you know somebody that has a gambling problem, or they need crisis counseling, you better tell them to call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, when we got the information about Butts potentially retiring, or once it became official, who would be replacing him, and we thought that initially it would solely be in-house, nobody else. And remember, we talked about it, was like, yo, I don't care if you do go Terrell Austin, because obviously he has some qualifications, but at the same time, we want to see, you know, at least you interview somebody from outside of here, somebody with different values, different concepts, somebody that has no affiliation, and just see, like, maybe you might like them. And reports have officially come out that the Pittsburgh Steelers have requested to interview the New York Giants defensive coordinator. His name is Patrick Graham. He's been there for the past 2 seasons. He's under the Bill Belichick coaching tree. He started out in 2009 coaching with the Patriots, worked his way up as a linebackers coach before taking over as the DC with the Giants. He got a chance to interview a year ago for the Jets head coaching job, but he turned it down. He said that he was committed to the Giants and just felt that he was a part of it and wanted to be a part of that defense, that rebuild. Since then, the Giants are still considering him as a potential head coach candidate, but he's also said that that is his final goal. He does want to be a head coach in this league, but he is open to taking some of these defensive coordinator interviews. So with that being the case, and another stop, I had to throw this in there as well. He coached at my at the rival school, Richmond, when I was at JMU.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but we kicked them butts. We kicked their butts every time, so that's why I had to bring it out there.
Stunk.
In fact, I think one game we put 50 on him. Huh. How you like them apples?
Was he the head coach or was he the defensive coordinator? Well, either way.
He was on the staff.
Yeah.
How you like them apples? Go Dukes. But I just had to throw that in there. All right. So with that being said, though, a couple of things. Obviously, the Giants' defense the past 2 years hasn't been the best, but they've also had a lot of
2020 wasn't that bad.
Wasn't that true? And we know personnel-wise, they still, like, these past years for the Giants, their roster has been weird in terms of just how they've created it, some of the talent that they've acquired or even tried to keep and things like that. But like I said, I do like the fresh ideas. I do like the fact that he was under Belichick, because we do respect the heck out of Belichick, especially from a defensive mind standpoint. Now, this is different for me because typically when we talk about Belichick descendants, we're always talking about them negatively when they go on to be head coaches, and that's typically where those guys struggle. But I do like when they're guys that are successful under them and go and stay in that coordinator role. We see how they can continue to excel. And it's numerous guys in terms of your McDaniels, in terms of your Patricias, when they're strictly as coordinators, they thrive there. And I do think with Pat Graham, I think it would be interesting. You know, I like the interview part of it.
I think it's interesting too.
I definitely think it's interesting. And even if we stick with Terrell Austin, I just like the fact that, hey, Terrell, even though you're qualified, it's like, yo, I just want to, let me just bounce his idea. Let me just hear what he says. Maybe his concepts are kind of with yours, but we like this and this and this that he brings to the table. The unknown, because he is young as well. He's not a guy who's been, you know, coaching for 40 years in the NFL. He's not a guy that has had a lot of coordinator experience, but he's a guy that has been groomed with one of the best coaches that has ever done it in terms of Bill Belichick. So that part for me, I do like a lot.
Yeah.
But what say you though, man?
No, I'm with you. I think it's kind of interesting, especially coming from that Patriots tree.
Mhm.
Now, he also did defensive coordinator for Miami back in 2019.
That 1 year. Yes.
Now that team was terrible, and if you,
that was the Flores. That was when Flores was that when Flores first got there.
First got there.
And
cleaned house.
Fitzpatrick, Rosen, that whole situation, yeah.
So it was a weird scenario. If you look up the stats, that defense was terrible. But what I do remember is the last half of the season, like the last 9 games,
a lot better.
They actually started playing a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like he got fired from Miami. He jumped from Miami to the Giants to be their defensive coordinator. It was that whole Patriots connection.
Well, because
Flores
Joe Judge
down there, Joe Judge.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if that's necessarily considered an upgrade. Maybe he just would rather have been with the Giants, wanting to get that Miami stink off him. But they were considered like a sleeper team coming into 2020 after that like last half of the season in 2019. So yeah, I'm interested. I'm interested for sure because I think that 2020 Giants team may have overseeded expectations in terms of defense, and then Miami that second half of the season did as well. So who knows what he could have up his sleeve.
Now, my question to you, and this kind of I asked it.
He might want to be the head coach. I don't know if the Giants are necessarily going to offer him, but they are giving the interview.
Well, and I was going to say, this is almost kind of rhetorical for me, but when I think of Pat Graham and I think of Terrell Austin, both of these guys, in terms of their DC experience,
limited,
but losing programs. And in terms of like, he's coming from the Giants, we're not realistically talking about them in that vein, you know what I mean? Or even the Bengals when Terrell was there, and then obviously in Detroit outside of that first year. I just wonder, and maybe this is just me, or do you feel like this? Do you put more premium on guys that are coming from winning situations versus these guys that are coming from, okay, your defense were 15, 20 times, you know what I mean? And that ain't that range, but we know it was multiple reasons why, whether it was injuries, organizational malpractice, like whatever it is, we know it was multiple variables. Does that sway you one way or the other though?
I would prefer someone like Rex Ryan. I prefer someone that has more defensive coordinator experience, especially if they were successful. I'd prefer that.
Okay.
But it's weird because we just had LeBeau and Butler this whole time. So we had LeBeau, who's an absolute stud, and Butler, who I think it was time. I think it was time one way or another. I don't know what to make of it. I mean, that'd be even just like Tomlin. We get rid of Tomlin. Who do we bring in? I wouldn't know what to do. It's like,
seriously,
do you want the young guy that's unproven, or do you want the proven guy? I don't know.
Nah.
Because there's something to making a name for yourself.
But it's also something to when you take that chance on this guy making a name for himself, and that's the dud. That's the one where it doesn't work out. Now you look crazy.
I do want to say I trust Tomlin, but we have the whole Canada situation going on with the offensive coordinator.
So you saying you trust him, but you don't trust him?
I'll trust him with defense. I'll trust him with defense up to this point.
He said, I trust him, but I don't trust him.
Now, you felt more Butler got hired because it was just his time?
Yes.
Like, you think that was necessarily Tomlin's decision?
No, Tomlin played a role in it because, like I said, they were connected. They go back to their days in Memphis. Him, Tomlin, and Randy Fichtner. They were all down there in Memphis together. So, like, it was just time. It was one. It's no different when if Brandon Hunt or Omar Khan gets promoted as GM in the next month, we're all going to be saying, "Yo, it was just time." Regardless of if we, truly believe they can get it done or not, they've maxed out where they're at right now. And we felt like at the time for Butts, it was like, man, how many Pro Bowlers, how many more Hall of Famers, how many more guys you got to develop? You know what I mean? Like, you're doing it with draft guys. You're doing it with guys that were cut. You're doing it with free agent signings. It's like, you're doing inside linebackers. You're doing outside linebackers. What else can this man do? And that's why we just felt like it was just time. So with that, I mean, that could be the case with some of these other guys, right?
It might be tough, too, as much as I do want, like, the former head coaches turn defensive coordinator. Like, Dan Quinn's already trying to take, like, head coaching jobs right now.
Yeah. Because he's interviewed, he's had one with Denver. He's going for a second interview as well with Denver. Yeah.
So that might be, like, Tomlin might want a guy that's going to be on the roster for the next, on the coaching roster, I guess you could say, for the next however many years. As opposed to, I'm just taking this for 1 year so I can get my name back out there in the head coaching search. But this guy, like you said, he's actually trying to be a head coach. So
but see,
maybe he might not stick around for that long.
But see, part of me, I like that in the sense of that he wants to be a head coach, because right now we said we don't have the successor to Coach Tomlin here right now. Or at least we don't think we do. And we've talked about that. Like some of these other teams, you could tell, hey, that's the guy they're grooming. He's going to be the head coach. in a couple of years once this guy walks out of here. Like, we don't have a guy that we even feel is going to get interviewed for head coaching jobs. And that was the other thing. Whereas
good point.
With Pat Graham, it's like, bro, you already had an interview for a head coaching style. You turned that down. We couldn't say that about either of our coordinators, Keith Butler or Matt Canada. They were getting head coaching interviews or even turning them down. So for me, I like that a lot in terms of the pedigree element of it. And that's why I'm like, if this guy's getting head coaching interviews, that is a different level of coach that we have not had here lately. Because Terrell Austin, Ike Hilliard, they were the only two guys to get offered interviews for coordinator positions, but no head coaching stuff since they've been on our staff. No other coach on our staff of lately has even been mentioned outside of Pittsburgh. So that's for me where I'm just like, we talk about upgrades. We talk about doing something different. Now, this is more so in the take a chance because he's not as proven. Yeah. And I know that's the weird mix a different element, but this is at least in the vein of where we want to be going. We want to have higher end candidates that at least spark interest from head coach or at least spark interest from teams as a head coach. That's all we want.
Yeah, I'm with you. Is our standards just low now though for us to get excited about this?
Yeah.
Because
this is a product of what the standard is the standard, right? The standard has been this. So yes, this is the standard. Yes, we get excited for this right here because we don't get to see this often.
Because you're right. I don't think we are going to try to bring in any of these former head coaches or guys with more defensive coordinator pedigrees. I don't. This might be the most exciting thing we got right now.
Seriously, bro.
Could they shock us a little bit more? Who knows? But yeah, I'm interested. I'm not opposed to it at all. When I first saw it, I was like, oh, wow. So Terrell Austin's just not getting the job. I've never heard of this dude. Giants defense. This is going to suck. But then you look into it a little bit more. You could talk yourself into it with that 2020 Giants defense and then how the Dolphins finished in 2019.
You could talk yourself into it. Those two, for me, it was also that Belichick lineage. Like, because it's like, we get on Belichick and we know, hey, man, everybody want to crown him. We don't crown him the same way. But it's like, the one thing we not going to do is act like he's not one of the most brilliant defensive minds. Like, he got that, And if he's been under that lineage, I think it's intriguing. At least worth the conversation. I think the Steelers obviously are on board with that as well, man.
Yeah, request to do the interview.
Yes,
and who knows how it could help with us against the Patriots even, because I don't think they're necessarily going away.
No, seriously, man.
With Mac Jones, we saw that. We saw how they did this year. So, yeah, I like it. Yeah. I like the thought of it for sure.
Now, I know the other names that people bring up or have brought up was Vic Fangio. I know for me, man, the more I look into Vic, I'm not as hype about it.
I'm too old.
He's 65. Or no, Butts is 65. He's 63. I'm just like, man.
LeBeau was old, but he was a young old.
He was young soul. That's my only thing with Vic, man. I'm starting to get a little nervous about that. And then I also wonder, I can't do that to him. Because his now when his defenses are on, they're on. I ain't gonna do
Rex.
That. No, I was talking about Fangio. I was like, I wonder, do we hype him up a little bit at times? But then I'm like, when he's had the perfect storm of players and they're all healthy, like his defenses are legit. So I can't even go there with him.
What about Martindale?
That was the other name that came up. Now he's 53, I believe. Now I like him a lot more. I think part of the reason I could see the Steelers not messing with him is because the whole Baltimore thing. But at the same time, I could see them not caring about it because when they brought in Terrell Austin was the Bengals defensive coordinator in 2018. So my only concern though, and this is something that I've been trying to ask even some of my local connections here, like that are, tapped in with Coach T and stuff like that. Do they think it could be a little bit more of a challenge though to land one of those type of coaches, whether you're talking about a Wink Martindale, a Vic Fangio? Now I know Brian Frost should get a head coaching job, but if he were to be a guy, like, could it be an issue because of how hands-on Coach Tomlin wants to be with the defense? Whereas this would kind of revert it back to maybe the LeBeau style where Coach Tomlin would have to step completely back because these guys we're talking about, they're legit defensive coordinators. And not taking it as like a slight at Keith Butler, but at the time, Butts had never done it. So it was still like he's trying to prove himself. And even with that, we said it's a small sample at 7 years, right? Whereas when you're talking about your Wink Martindales, you're talking about Vic Fangio, these guys have got like decade plus 20 years at times of just DC experience at the NFL level. They not trying to be hearing, a joint opportunity. It's like, no, this is what I do. And I specialize in this. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it is.
That's what I prefer,
Yeah.
honestly. I'd rather bring in the defensive
But I just wonder,
genius.
like, could that be a little bit of a bumping of the head, though?
Oh, for sure.
Because for Coach Tomlin, you know, that's his baby.
That's maybe
his
why we're
baby.
looking at dudes like Terrell Austin
Yeah.
and what's this dude's name?
Pat
Patrick.
Graham.
Yeah.
And that's like, I really wonder that how like legitimate that could be, because if I know myself, and a lot of us in terms of like when we're getting to the NFL mindset, we are kind of wired the same in terms of like that competitive. We know, especially when we know our stuff, like we're here with it. And I could see me clashing heads, especially if I feel like I'm proven and I have the resume. Not, I know my concepts, I believe it. You just haven't seen it yet, and I got to prove it. Not that, because Pat is going to be like that. Patrick, he's going to feel like, yo, I know what I'm talking. I got this, but I haven't proved it. So I have to still do it. So you don't mind working in unison or in concert with the Coach Tomlin. But if I've already been doing this for 15, 20 years, I've already won Super Bowls, I've already had elite defenses, I don't want to get a lot of this when I know what I can do here. And I could potentially see that as an issue, man. Hopefully it's not, but I could, though, man.
Maybe we just got to the crux of the reason why we aren't going for some of those top guys, or we won't be. That's my assumption. It kind of sucks, but I kind of understand it, though, too. You're right. I mean, if you've done all that stuff through your NFL career, why bring in another guy trying to take over? You already had that whenever you first started. Now you're 15
and I'm not
years
gonna
older.
lie. You can see how excited Coach Tomlin was once LeBeau left. Not in the sense of, oh, I wanted him out of here, but in the sense of, I get to be back in control of this defense. That's when we started doing a lot more of these 4-3 concepts. That's when we started seeing, you know, all right, outside linebackers walking off the ball or something. He's like, bro, like, we 3-4, Coach T. I know you're a 4-3 guy. I know you getting excited, but speak up, Butts, speak up. And it took some years for Butts to finally get to where he could have it how he wanted it. But it took time. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, like, with Coach T, and I don't fault him for it, because if I'm the head coach, you daggone right, I want it how I want it, because at the end of the day, if the team looks bad, they're pointing at me. I'm the one whose job was on the line. Y'all are a reflection of me, but at the end of the day, it falls on my shoulders. So I could easily understand why he is that way, but I could also see how that could make this process a lot more convoluted.
Limited,
yeah, man.
Limited, where we're not going for those guys. But we'll see. Maybe that makes Austin and Graham a good fit, though.
Yeah. Now, I also see people saying Wade Phillips. He's like, I feel like Wade falls into that same category I was just talking about, because Wade has had success. Wade, coaches tail off, man. Them Denver defenses, them LA defense, man. Wade knows his stuff, baby. Absolutely.
Where's he at right now?
Oh, my goodness. It's not LA anymore.
Is he even anywhere?
Was he Denver? No. He's available. He's available right now. Maybe he took the year off. I want to say
74 years old.
He's up there, though, bro.
Yeah, it's saying nothing. He served as head coach of Broncos, Buffalo Bills, Cowboys.
Mm-hmm. Shoot, he was back when I was watching the Cowboys too, man.
Yeah, he was with the Rams up till 2020.
Mm-hmm.
He might be done. Might have had enough.
We'll see.
Called it a career.